Okay. Hi, I'm Rhonda Everson. I'm a professor of English at Korea Christian University in Seoul, South Korea. I'm an American. Okay. I have a list of questions from Christian Paduraru that he asked me to respond to for you. The first question is, what is one word that usually comes into your mind when you think about Jesus Christ? For me, that one word has to be security. If you know very much about me, I do need security. Most people do. But I have security to know that when I die, I'm going to be fine. And I have security to know that there's a place that I belong and that there's people who love me. And so security has to be the one word for me. The second question is, so what was the main motivation to follow him in this life? When I was younger, when I was a little girl, my parents didn't take me to church. But I had a French teacher who was a missionary. We lived in Morocco. And I went to his missionary Sunday school. And he taught us good things, and I could see that he was teaching us good things. And, he taught us things like don't lie, and he taught us to be kind and things like that. And one day, going out of the missionary compound, there was an Arab woman, and a man was walking behind her with a whip, beating her with a whip. And I asked the missionary, Mr. Acton, why that was happening. And Mr. Acton said to me, the woman came for a Bible study, but her husband was a Muslim, and that he didn't like what she was doing, so he was beating her with a whip. And I was really young, and that was my introduction to Islam. But I could see such a world of difference between Christianity and Islam at that point, and I thought to myself, I will never be a Muslim. As I grew, my aunt who lived in Oklahoma sent a lot of scriptures through the mail to my mother, and my mother started reading her Bible, and we went back to Oklahoma to visit my aunt. And I was a little girl who always wanted to please and do the right thing. And doing the right thing wasn't hard for me. I wanted it. And my mother was baptized in Oklahoma when I was about 12 years old. And so I started going to church with my mother. And when I was in high school, we traveled a lot. We didn't stay in Oklahoma. We went to California. We went to Washington State. My dad's job just took us all over the world, all over the United States. But finally we went back to Oklahoma to that little church where my mother was baptized. And I never had a Bible before, but they gave me a New Testament, and there was an older woman in the church who had me memorizing scriptures, and I really enjoyed that New Testament. That's the first time I ever had Bible, and I enjoyed listening to the preacher and reading the scriptures and seeing that what he said was written there. But I still had questions about the Bible. I didn't know if it was really true or not. I knew that everybody thought it was true, but what if it wasn't? And, in high school I kept thinking, what if somebody out there is laughing at us? What if this is all just a big joke? And I think the preacher must have heard me, because about that time he had a Bible class on where the Bible came from. And he convinced me, he did a good job. He convinced me that the Bible came from God. And I wanted to do the right thing. A lot of people don't have this peace in them that I have, that really tries, I try so hard that I've hurt myself sometimes to do the right thing. And my brother was sitting in the living room one day. I have a brother 2.5 years younger than me, and we were both in high school, and he was sitting there saying, what if I were in a car wreck tomorrow and I have not been baptized, what would happen to me? Well, I studied my Bible. I knew exactly what would happen if he hadn't been baptized. I was always a studier, always a reader, and I knew exactly what would happen. So, I wanted to go to heaven really bad. And the next day, the preacher came out to talk to my brother. I was really quiet. I was one of those people that never did any talking. And the next day, the preacher came out to visit with my brother, and they were sitting out on the porch talking. But I was standing off in the distance listening. And the preacher was trying to convince my brother to let him take him to the church building and baptize him. And my brother said no. But the little girl that never said a word, that nobody even knew was listening, which was me, I spoke up and said I wanted to do it. And I dedicated my life to Christ, and I've done it ever since. Okay? My motivation is I want to go to heaven. I love the Christian lifestyle. That's what I want. Okay? The next question, what kept you persevering all this time? Okay. I'm 56 years old. I became a Christian when I was 15. And I've been through a lot of hard things in my life. But I haven't given up. And I have been around the world teaching people about Christ. And when the hardest time that came into my life had to been when my husband and I split up, because my husband was a missionary. And everybody said to me, why don't you just throw it away? It can't be true if he's going to act like that. But I couldn't throw it away. I'm a studier, like I said. I can sit down with the Bible and use nothing else and prove to people that God exists, that Christ is the Son of God, and that the Bible comes from God. And the Bible's not the only thing I've studied. I've read the Quran. I have read Buddhist scriptures. I've read Hindu scriptures. I have studied everything. I really have an interest in this kind of stuff. And I can take the Bible and use nothing else and prove that God exists and that Christ is his Son and that the Bible is from God. And I can't give it up. I know too much. That's what keeps me hanging in there. And another thing that keeps me hanging in there is that I still want to go to heaven. And I love the security that I have in Christ. Now the last question, no, it's not the last, it's the next one. How do you disciple your neighbors into fulfilling everything Christ commanded? Well, at this point in time, it's not very hard. stand up in my classrooms. I'm a teacher. And I stand up and I tell them, at this time, there's going to be a Bible study in my office. If anybody wants to come, they can come. And they do. They come and we read the Bible together. We don't jump around and proof text. We start right at the beginning of Matthew, and I take them through and explain to them who all the people are, what's going on. I use the Bible, and we make it very non-threatening so that the people's faith is pumped up, so that they know that God is God, so they know Christ is His Son, and they know the Bible comes from God. And the longer they study, they make commitments. They call me up and ask me if they can go to church with me. I don't have to ask them to go to church with me. After they do this, I just let them make their own decisions. They call me up and say, "Are you going to church? Where are you going? Can I go with you?" And I take them. Okay? And the last question is, where will you be in 100 years from now? I'm sure I'll be dead. And as far as I know, God's going to take care of me. That's all that matters, is God is going to take care of me. I'll be in the arms of God. Thanks for listening.